Well, everyone, the day has finally come. Season 2 has just launched. I played it earlier on stream, and I have thoughts. Now, just to get it out of the way up front, yes, this game is dead. They're going to finish out the 4 seasonal updates that they've already committed to, and once those are out, they are almost certainly going to be walking away from it. Notably, Jason Schreier back in early June did a report on the game and explained kind of what went on, how the guys that were actually in charge of it, Sefton Hill and Jamie Walker, abandoned the studio and left like a year before its launch just because they didn't think that it was going to be very good, most likely. So they left, leaving the studio to just fend for themselves, which is kind of slimy if you ask me. But he also mentions that many of the studio's current employees are now helping to develop a new director's cut version of Hogwarts Legacy. And at the same time, according to people familiar, the studio leaders are looking to pitch a new single player game, which would return Rocksteady to its roots. So they're almost certainly not doubling down on this. They're not gonna commit to like 5 years of support. They're walking away, and it's in hospice basically right now. Now that decision will make sense very quickly once you actually boot into the season 2 update, which I have here with Mrs. Frost. That's right. They decided to go with a gender swapped Mr. Freeze instead of like a unique character or a character that was written as like a woman or something. They've just decided to take Mr. Freeze and then turn him into Mrs. Freeze, and that's the character we have. And a huge thank you to our sponsor, Factor. Factor is the stress-free, ready-to-eat meal delivery service that gets you fresh, never frozen meals that are chef-crafted, dietitian approved, and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. I've used Factor for ages. For me, it's really nice to be able to just go warm one up right before stream or something, or even in the middle of a stream or filming session for a big 8-hour video or something I'm working on. They are delicious. The meals are also really good for keeping me within my caloric goals for the day because they are already put together, and they're usually really well balanced with things like veggies. So if you order the honey mustard chicken, for example, they will provide you some nice chopped up potatoes on the side, and maybe on a different meal you get some green beans. It's just really good, well-rounded meals. And as you can see in this shot of my refrigerator, I like Factor. Those meals are not even part of this sponsorship. I just have a regular membership with them, so that's just a shot of my fridge on the regular. We have an entire shelf dedicated to it. So if you're interested, check them out at the link in the video description box below or in the pinned comment. And also make sure to sign up using my promo code because you'll get 50% off of your first box of Factor meals, and you'll get 20% off of the next 4 boxes as well. Again, check them out. Links in the description, pinned comment, or scan this QR code to check them out today. Now listen, this game has multiverse stuff. They can do whatever they want. They could have a gender swapped Joker if they wanted to. Like it's totally up to them. Nobody's doubting that they can explain it narratively. The point is, this game was met with great skepticism when it was announced, way back in the day, years ago at this point. These additional characters have been in the works since then. So you would think that at some point they would have said to themselves, we need to have these DLC like expansion characters. They need to be badass. They need to be so good, so compelling and interesting and crazy that people want to not just go out and like re-download the game, but like other people want to go and buy the game for the first time just to try it. But instead of really interesting, novel, captivating characters, we get Mrs. Freeze, and we also get an angsty teenager Joker, and like that's it. This is all we have so far. And here's the deal. Right off the dome, I can think of a handful of characters that are in DC canon that I think would have immediately captivated Twitter and TikTok, and people would have gotten really excited just seeing them come to the game, instead of like angsty teenager Joker and then Mrs. Freeze. For one, I think if they brought Peacemaker, it would have been a layup. I think this would have popped off. Maybe they do a little deal with the man, the myth, the legend himself, John Cena, and they actually do a body scan of him, put him in the game. I think that would have been really cool. People would have been super stoked on that, I bet. Or they could have gone with Black Manta, which would be a really unique character, have all sorts of crazy cool move sets and things that he could do. This could have been really compelling. Or another character that they reference in the game already with all sorts of notorious gear that you can get specifically for him and named after him. Just freaking do Scarecrow. Like, imagine Scarecrow swinging through the city like Spider-Man with his big chain hook, like the one he uses in Injustice 2. Dude, it's a layup. People would love it. There's all sorts of crazy cool stuff you could do with him, especially tonally. He's very different from the rest of the group. It just, like, come on, it would be awesome. Or perhaps the character I think that would have been an absolute layup and would have gotten people super excited, especially because it works so well with the multiverse idea. This is a version of Batman that is in the lore of DC. It's called The Batman Who Laughs. And basically the idea is that it's the pure insanity of Joker mixed with the genius of Batman in a melding that creates a horrifyingly brilliant supervillain that don't give no craps and is terrifyingly capable of doing whatever he wants to do. This guy swinging through the city on chains and with laugh gas and stuff, like, this would have been an amazing addition to the cast. And yet we get this. Like seriously, it's almost like they were trying to come up with characters that would be roundly mocked on social media. For one, looking like an actual walking refrigerator, and then also looking like the Joker, baby. It's unbelievable that they thought this was a good idea, because no matter what you think of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, I think you have to acknowledge anybody could have told them that this was going to be received poorly. If they were to do this, they were going to get crap. And the fact that they seemingly have been surprised at the feedback for these expansion characters, it's honestly all the more terrifying that they somehow thought this was going to be well received. It's genuinely unbelievable. But setting all that aside, I jumped into this on stream earlier, hoping to see some new missions, hoping that maybe they learned from season 1. After all, they delayed this seasonal update by 2 weeks, or just under 2 weeks, the day before it was supposed to launch. In like early to mid July, they delayed it to the very end of July, the day before it was supposed to launch. Really, really strange. But I was hopeful maybe they were going to drop something really cool and crazy and blow us all away, and maybe it would start a redemption arc. Nope, that's not what's going on here. The map is basically the same as it's always been, except now there are some icy effects over different areas of it. But as you can see, this is literally just a square that they developed separately and then made like icy, and they literally just plopped it. I mean, it's almost a perfect square. You can tell that they built the little level, they imported it in here, they didn't do anything fancy to like meld it together. You can see it's right next to a beach. You know what, let's actually go over there. Yeah, here we are. You can see it's literally just the square piece that they made that they just plopped on top of everything else they already had. Like, it's just shockingly lazy. It's just sand right up to the snow and nothing else. It's unreal. Like, I understand they have a skeleton crew working on this right now, but even still, I'm just consistently blown away at how unbelievably uninteresting they've managed to make these updates. It's crazy. And speaking of the update itself, of course, it's all centered around Mrs. Freeze, who has her own unique traversal style, which is kind of what makes or breaks these additional characters. The Joker has a really unique movement style. I actually really like it, and I think it's the one saving grace of the season 1 update that they did. But Mrs. Freeze, like, you can do this little loop-de-loop thing to get a jump. You can't really get that high in the air with it, even if you time it correctly. You have to do this weird, like, ice wall thing by holding down right bumper, and it just doesn't shoot you up very quickly. Honestly, I greatly prefer the movement of the Joker. Like, I think him and King Shark, I don't really like Harley's movement that much, but King Shark and then Boomerang, their movement systems are just significantly better. And so I found myself somehow disappointed with this, because the one thing that they've done well so far, at least with the one expansion and update that they've had, was the movement with the Joker. And then this time around, it's just not that fun. Like, it just feels worse compared to what they've already done. Furthermore, there are obvious gameplay integrations they could have done with this that just don't work. For example, I thought when I saw the like promotional materials for this seasonal update, I thought that when Mrs. Freeze went and would use like this ice platform thing, I thought it would create an ice platform, since she's standing on it, that other people in the party could stand on. So you could basically create like a floating sniper nest or something for a member of your party. So like if I was here, I could maybe go out here, stretch the ice out and create a little platform for Harley to go out onto if she has a sniper rifle or something. I thought that would be super, super cool. And I was interested in seeing how they would implement that. But it turns out, no, that makes too much sense. And instead, it disappears as quickly as it appears. Like it's really disappointing to see how quickly the ice just evaporates. Like I understand in this case, it's floating in midair. I get that, but just a little bit of Frozone action would have been cool. Like if I anchor it here, starting there, maybe it stays supported and I can create like little bridges with it. They don't have to last forever, but just something would be nice. But speaking of nice, what isn't nice are the the outfits that they've put in the game. So you see this one, the Science of Style Arkham pack. This is literally just the Mr. Freeze outfit from Batman Arkham City, and it's just copied over here. So you can get that if you want her to wear that. That's an option. There's also this one where you can actually wear a trash bag. It's got to be one of the most unappealing and just offensive to the eyes outfits I've ever seen as a paid cosmetic. Bear in mind, this costs $10. This skin costs $10. Like you can't even make this up. I cannot fathom a world in which somebody would think that this was worth $10. You couldn't get me to equip this onto a character if it were free. It's that offensive. Like I'm shocked. Every one of my senses is repelled by this mustard ketchup rhubarb pie monstrosity that I'm seeing before me. But anyway, very few people are going to be buying these cosmetics and stuff, so I don't think we need to dwell on it too much. The core problem with Suicide Squad is not cosmetics. It's not even really character designs. The core problem of Suicide Squad is just that the game is frankly boring. And even in these big updates, they have done nothing to really change it at all. Like they've added occasional tweaks to how certain encounters will trigger. They might add a different Elseworld that's decorated differently, like hers is all ice themed, so that's different. So I guess we can't be that mad. But even then, it's just like all they had to do was to come along and offer something moderately different and interesting. But I think that they saw the writing on the wall well in advance of the game launching, probably after that first big delay back in 2023. And I think that they knew this game was never going to be a big success. So they took everybody off of it. They had a skeleton crew working on it, and they've just decided, you know what? We'll just wrap it up, get it out the door, move on, and we'll call it good. We'll try to forget that this ever happened. And I can't frankly blame them for that, because I mean, what else are they really expected to do? The work that would be required to really turn this game around is so vast and expansive. It's just not going to be as simple as, oh, we'll just add in one or two different mission types. No, they need a total reworking. And I don't blame them for looking at it and being like, you know what? It'll be faster just to make a new game. Like, frankly, it probably will be. But perhaps that brings us to the big question, which is, I'm sure, on everybody's minds. Luke, why do you keep beating this dead horse over and over and over again? It's got to be bad for your mental health too. Like, why do you keep doing this to yourself? And honestly, I think it's because, for one, people are interested. Like, it's just a dumpster fire people can't look away from. And that's probably evidenced by the very fact that you're watching this video right now. Like, there's something in you that found this interesting and you wanted to see what the dumpster fire was like. Or I guess in this case, dumpster freezer. But I'm sorry, that was such a bad attempt at a joke. I'm sorry. Please don't unsubscribe. Anyway, I think that, frankly, the reason I continue to go back to it is because, again, the most fierce opponents to games like this are usually former fans of the studio themselves. Like, the reason why I care so deeply about Rocksteady as a studio is because I know they can do so much better. Like, I've seen what they're capable of. And frankly, it's just shockingly disappointing to see them fall so far to do all of this. Like, they are so much more capable as a developer. It is nothing short of depressing to see that this is what they spent the better part of a decade working on. It's just a waste of talent and in some cases creative genius, because those Batman Arkham games were phenomenal. And anybody who hasn't experienced them should absolutely go back and play them. And it will also make you all the more astonished that this is the product that they put out after making those masterpieces. But that's why I care about this, because I don't think that we should just give them a pass. I'm a firm believer that if you care about a studio, if you care about some company or set of developers, you don't help them by lying to them or pretending it wasn't that bad. It's fine. It's pretty good. I think you have to hold their feet to the fire and demand better from them. That's how you get better games. That's how you like encourage them to do their best work. You will not get their best work if you are just excusing it constantly. It's why I tend to be so hard on some of these games that I think have a lot of potential, but that just fall a little bit flat, because coddling them will not help anything. It just won't. And so while I'm sure a lot of people are frustrated and like, Luke, just stop talking about it, the game sucks, I concur, but I'm not going to let him off that easy. I'm not. And honestly, so long as people are interested in seeing what the game currently is like, I'll keep making videos discussing it. I don't think I'll cover episode 2 or anything like that. I think, you know, I might do an update for season 3, because we have seen what that's going to look like. And I think that's also going to probably be met with a fair amount of bedevilment, let's just say. So maybe we'll cover that. I don't think we'll cover the episode 2 of this, because it's just going to be a reskin of another Brainiac fight. But maybe we'll go back to this again. It's just at this point, there's not much to say. Every update is just more depressing than the last. And I don't think it's going to magically change or shift because, you know, more time has passed. Like, clearly they're just moving on from this and kind of giving up on it. And I can't really blame them for that, frankly. I will say it drives me freaking crazy how I've played this game through 2 seasonal updates now, and they still have these like basic tutorial messages popping up. You've seen them all through this video where it's like, press B to throw a grenade if you want, RT to do a melee attack. Like, the notifications for tutorials are just broken in this game, and they have been since launch. And they just don't do anything to fix it. Like, I've tried, look at that, like slide upon landing. I know how to slide upon landing. I've done it many times. Why are they still trying to tell me these things? Like, it just drives me crazy, dude. Now, I did say that season 3, we already know who the player character is going to be. We already know what they're doing for it. And so there's no real surprises left. And you may be like, Luke, who is that? I'm not going to reveal that because it's data mined and like leaked information. It's not publicly available. They haven't announced it. So it's not really my place to share. But what I will say is it's confirmed at this point. Like, the data leak is there. We can see what the like files are, what the names of the characters are and stuff. So we know who it's going to be. And once again, it would have been so easy for them to just come in and do like something really badass like the Batman Who Laughs, or do something crazy like Scarecrow, or any of those. But no, it's another choice that I will just say is going to leave people pretty baffled. And I think the overall response among casual superhero fans is going to be, who? And I have no sympathy for them at this point. Like, they knew that this was going to happen, and if they didn't, they're incompetent. So either way, there's no blame. Either they were incompetent, or they knew people would react poorly to this, and they said, screw them. They don't deserve to get the character that they would find interesting. And both options aren't great. But at the end of this video, I am left just as frustrated as I was when I played the season 1 update with Joker. Nothing's really changed. Nothing's improved. If anything, they've gotten worse because player counts are even lower, and Mrs. Freeze plays worse than Joker, so there's not really much of a reason to play with her. I did do some of the Elseworld missions earlier today on stream, and those you can see footage of right now on screen. You just go to another ice world like you've seen before, and it's nothing too crazy. The Brainiac fight is, again, just a reskin of fights we've had before, fighting waves and waves of enemies. Then you have a little cutscene that plays out with Mrs. Freeze where she brings in her wife, Nora, and there's some dialogue about that. And then you save Flash, and he goes back into another, like, carrier. I don't even know how to describe it because the narrative at this point is pretty much entirely nonsensical. It's just in general a mess. And just as if it couldn't get more cringy at the end of all of it, after you've grinded for like anywhere from 3 to 5 hours, depending on your build out, difficulty level selection, all of that stuff. You've grinded for hours playing the same characters you've already played as, and then you unlock the one and only Mrs. Freeze. You get some dialogue, as I just explained, and then this little post-credit scene plays out in the style of Redfall cutscenes. I have a recording here from Ben Gunn, who just posted this up so that we could show you now, since he's actually got it recorded. And just take this in. I'm going to point something out, but keep a close eye on what's actually happening on screen, and then I'll point out some of the things I thought were weird.
The hell are you idiots doing? Get the Flash into stasis and get back to work.
Wish you were always that fun, Flasher. We'll make a sidekick out of you yet.
Now, it was very quick, very, very quick. But this is one of those times where it just feels like the people that were making this game and making these like narrative decisions had one of the weirdest senses of humor, where they're trying so hard to be funny and it's just not landing. Like, okay, maybe if you saved the Flash, you know, they would take little photos like this, maybe, but all of them taking the photos, it's like a little weird. And then, you know, they do like the Weekend at Bernie's thing where they've got sunglasses on him and they're doing this, and you know, these two don't think it's funny, but these guys think it's super funny. And then they go forward, and this is like the weirdest one to me here, where they're all kneeling and like hands clasped, like praying almost to the Flash, while Mrs. Freeze tries to put him in like this chamber for preservation or whatever. I just don't know what the joke is. The other ones, like they're being silly, or it's a reference to this movie or that movie. With this, I don't know. Are they supposed to be like sending him off for burial? Are they supposed to be like thanking him for being who he, or thanking Mrs. Freeze or something? I just genuinely don't know what the joke is, and it just leaves me more confused than entertained. And this is the story of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League and all of the narrative choices that they do. In the base game, where you actually watch Captain Boomerang like pee on the dead body of a member of the Justice League, and it's played up like it's supposed to be really funny, and you as the gamer are just sitting there like, that's not funny. This isn't entertainment. This is just confusion. I don't get what you're trying to do. And with this, it's the same kind of thing. I don't know what this is supposed to be, but I feel like, you know, the old saying with entertainment is it's always how you leave them. It's how you leave the audience that's going to leave the lasting impression. And with this is the second to last shot in the season 2 big launch update that's supposed to introduce Mrs. Freeze to the gamers that are making this game function, allegedly. And we're finishing on something that's just weird and baffling. Like, I know at this point we're just nitpicking, and for a lot of people it's like it's just a weird pose. They were trying to be funny and it didn't land. Don't think about it too much. But that's the whole game, is them trying to be funny and thinking people would react one way, and everybody reacts the other way. And that at its core is known as cringe. Like, the most clear definition of cringe, or example of cringe that you can point to, is when somebody tries desperately to be funny and it's just not, but they're not in on the joke. You know, they think they're an amazing singer, but they're totally tone deaf, but they don't know that, so they keep trying to sing. You know, those are the things that lead to cringe. And with this game, it is cringe personified. They are trying to be witty and charming and have hip characters that are designed for a modern audience. And none of it is relatable. None of it is interesting. It's all infuriatingly cringy across the board. And Rocksteady seemingly is just not in on how unfunny or unentertaining it actually is. The choice to have Mrs. Freeze instead of literally anybody else as this season's playable character. They apparently thought this was a good idea because they spent all this time in marketing pushing it, and no one else agrees. Like, I have literally not found a single person, a solitary soul, who is like, yeah, this was the pick. The Joker, a lot of people were like, honestly, I like the idea of playing as an alternative reality Joker. And I get that. I can understand that. I think that that's one that makes sense. If I was doing a roster lineup of like other alternative dimension villains to join the Suicide Squad, that makes sense. But this, I just don't know who on earth would have greenlit this. And I mean, I guess they don't really know either, because the people that did greenlight it left the studio before the game launched to found a different studio, which is, it's tantamount to like, oh, our ship is sinking and we're the captains of the ship. Well, we're gonna get off the ship and go hop on that other ship and we're gonna become the captains of that. Good luck, guys, bye. That's basically what they did with this game, and I find it so reprehensible and just gross. I don't know how to hide it. Like, I usually try to be like smiles and nods and try to be cordial with people, even if I disagree with them. But with that, you set up your company, your team of employees to fail, and you knew it was going to fail, which is why you didn't stick it out, and you left them to deal with the firestorm and crap by themselves. That's detestable. That's absolutely detestable. And I don't know why it's not a bigger deal in the gaming community. Like the fact that people are like, well, you know, Jamie Hill and Sefton Walker, they're probably working on something pretty cool. I'm like, those are not people you should probably be supporting. It's unbelievable that they have just bypassed all of the blame for this. It's crazy. But anyway, at the end of all of this, I have once again done a number to my brain trying to play Suicide Squad Season 2. I'm good on this one, fam. I don't think I'll be returning for episode 2. I'm going to leave it for other people to play. All 300 current players can enjoy it, and I will wish them the best of luck. We might pop in for Season 3, see what they're doing there, but until then, I'm going to go play other games that do not cause active brain damage. And I think you should too. Thank you for watching. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for making my dreams a reality every single day. I love the gosh darn heck out of every single one of you, and I am humbled that I get to do this for a living. Never, ever think I take it for granted. Much love, my friends. I'll see you soon. And until then, Waller out. I'm so sorry I had to.